Gilman is already through. Ascending. And I go through the gate, because they are waiting for me. Then he goes through the gate, because he is the fucking offering. Blood will flow. Slow. Thanks, buddy. We'll be seeing you.
Possessing the rune of earth magic, Goroth values both strength and subservience. He is depicted as a colossus of stone and lava. Chains drape prominently across his body, anchored by a large metallic plate that is secured over his torso. Following Ranger's victory over Keithon, Goroth assumed control of the Dimension of the Doomed. His domain in Quake Champions exhibits differences from that in Quake 1, where it is a realm of continually evolving environments that suggest ancient monumental structures like crypts, caverns, and castles. Quake Champions' domain still retains a similar medieval architecture, yet the lava and fire that was once contained is now overflowing all over the landscape. As documented in the Commander at the Slipgate lore scroll, Goroth emerged as a consequence of Colonel Montelrice's encounter with Vadrigar material during a visit to Dr. Gilman's laboratory. This encounter initiated his transformation into a dreamer, creating from his nightmares a dominion within the Dreamlands, eventually becoming or giving rise to the entity known as Goroth. Despite his strength, Goroth endured a fate similar to Volker. His true potential is constrained by the metal plate on his chest. A formidable foe enslaved Goroth within the Dimension of the Doomed, employing chains as a means of debasement. But who is that mentioned foe? One might presume this referred to Shub-Niggurath. However, some hints would say otherwise. A few accounts suggest that elder gods contended with one another, yet none are inferring at one who sought to challenge Shub-Niggurath directly. Given her pivotal role in their transformation, it appears improbable they would desire her downfall. Alternatively, the formidable foe could refer to Dr. Gilman before his ascension. This scenario suggests that Rice has been directly confined to the Dimension of the Doomed during his transformation, introducing a possibility that Goroth lacks a realm of his own. The most common theory introduced that Goroth seized control himself, only to be subsequently shackled there by a mighty adversary. Following Ranger's defeat of the former ruler of the realm in Quake 1, a power vacuum left the Dimension of the Doom contested. On Corrupted Keep, there is mention of Nodens, a deity from Celtic mythology later depicted as an elder god in Cthulhu mythos, known for his benevolent disposition. He rules over the Night Gaunts, mysterious flying entities. The same series of maps also features a colossal skeleton known as Shantax, described by Lovecraft as bird-like creatures, larger than elephants, with equine-like heads and alliances with Nyarlathotep, an outer god who frequents Earth, typically appearing as a tall, slender, jubilant man. It is conceivable that as Goroth vied for control of the dimension, Nodens also attempted to assert dominance, and perceiving his impending defeat, chose to restrain or penalize Goroth by chaining him within the dimension before withdrawing elsewhere. Goroth demands adoration from all beings he encounters. Those who refuse are destroyed without hesitation, whereas those who venerate him fall under his protection. The most devoted worshippers, demonstrating substantial strength and total submission, transform into beings of living stone and metal, their bodies ablaze with internal magma. Goroth's followers include a diverse array of creatures, from astray humans to Chthonian entities that burrow and reside within the earth. More details emerge from the Vadrigar realm. For instance, the sarcophagus of the enigmatic Goroth's deceased champion. Unknown yet important enough to have a cenotaph dedicated to him, Mount Angranic itself holds significance within Lovecraftian lore as a dormant volcano inhabited by night gaunts at its summit. Another fascinating detail is that the Earth Gods, also known as the Great Ones, formerly resided at its peak, but have since relocated to the enigmatic city of Kadath. While not as formidable as the Great Old Ones, these entities are safeguarded by the Outer Gods, particularly Nyarlathotep. Furthermore, on Corrupted Keep, we witness the eternally burning spark, a fallen ember of Cthulhu. Resembling a massive fireball, this Great Old One is witnessed in August Derleth's short story, The Dweller in Darkness. In these events, characters invoke Cthulhu to expel an avatar of none other than Nyarlathotep from a forest in northern Wisconsin. The recurring presence of this outer god across the different elements in the dimension is starting to emerge. With evidence of conflict, it's intriguing to imagine a significant struggle that took place within these lands, perhaps long before Goroth came into power. We now turn to another narrative concerning him, centered on an Earth ship that crash-landed following a slip drive malfunction.
Lieutenant Commander Kaneko, acting captain. Slip drive damaged as we jumped through gravity well of a rogue star. Helm was able to control our crash, to land us on the single body orbiting the rogue. Providence badly damaged. Salvageable, but we don't have the parts. Multiple casualties upon impact, including captain and first officer. At such a close orbit, the surface of this planetoid, asteroid, should be molten. But Science Division reports readings that, though harsh, can sustain life, at least for short periods. Sending out scouting parties before determining our next course of action.
This initial segment is particularly interesting as it confirms the concept of a slip drive being used by humans for the first time. Previously mentioned in the Commander Keel story and also speculated during Quake 4 introduction. Although the operational principles of these drives are not explicitly detailed, it is inferred that vessels were outfitted with machinery capable of harnessing slipgate technology, likely appropriated from the Strog After Earth or Strogos invasion. The malfunctioning slip drive precipitated their uncontrolled descent onto a celestial body orbiting a rogue star, which, unbeknownst to them, was situated within the dimension of the doomed. This incident parallels the scenario described in the Strog and Pika story, where, following the destruction of the black hole generator by Bitterman, they were inadvertently transported to the Dreamland.
Multiple excursions have failed to report back. Can't keep sending people into danger, but sitting around blind is a death sentence. Elected to lead the final excursion myself, leaving behind only the wounded medics and a squad of Marines. Air breathable, but painfully hot, even at night. Surface rock unidentifiable. Gravity too strong for body this size. Constellations foreign. I think the damaged slip drive did more than just take us off course. Located numerous corpses in nearby chasm. Remnants of battle. Bodies are desiccated, but boast metallic prosthetics. Slapdash, built of scavenged and recycled materials, but displaying advanced mechanical techniques.
This characterization of the corpses will hold significance in subsequent sections of the lore scroll. While their identities are not explicitly defined, the descriptions align with various beings from Quake lore, adding layers of intrigue to their potential origins and roles.
Don't know how long they'll let me keep this recorder. Sunrise was almost blinding. Discovered a massive step pyramid on the horizon, hundreds of feet high. Grounds around the ziggurat were littered with more cyborg corpses. Snuck inside just in time to hear screams. Found central chamber with many of our missing crew, including some of those I left behind, being fed alive to a great central flame. God, the smell. We tried to save them. Of course we tried. Surrounded before we could even reach them. More techno-organic hybrids. Heaven knows what's next for us, but I fear the flames.
The entire ship's crew was captured, with some being fed in a sacrificial manner to a large flame. This recalls a scene from the Quake comic where the crew of Scalebearer was sacrificed as the result of them having failed in their war campaign against the Melem. The Scalebearer crew sacrifice demonstration also aligns with what Goroth demands of people. Become his worshipper or be destroyed. While there is no direct relation between the two scenes, it is interesting to notice the resemblance as they both are performed on behalf of elder gods.
They took me to a room high in the ziggurat to meet someone called the Smelter of Flesh. Beneath a great window, this creature of charred skin and metal prosthetics droned on about the glories of brutal murder, and the ones he addressed. God, they were my people, or parts of my people. They'd been changed. Injuries and even healthy limbs replaced by steel muscles and razor spines. They reached out with fingers, equal parts flesh and flexing prongs. Jaws of recycled metal parted, but their words were lost behind the wires. steel spines now revealed behind their teeth.
Although this smelter of flesh was challenging to identify, we can create a connection to a similar being introduced as the Talon Priest in Volkith lore scrolls, marking the smelter of flesh as the leader or higher figure of the followers of Goroth.
He stared out at the blazing sun that should have blinded him. Spoke of Goroth, using horrible sounds I can't make. Goroth, I'll call him. The Sire of Embers, the unappeasable. Born in the heart of that star, or perhaps who is that star? A god of heat and hate, forge and fire, a shaper and destroyer. Only in the destruction of others, or even oneself, can one glorify Goroth. Drifted to the window as he ranted, and below I saw the techno-organic servants of Goroth battling one another. But a few marched off toward the Providence, dragging parts behind.
The mention of Goroth's origin in the heart of that star is also interesting. This detail could support that Goroth did not create his own realm at its inception, which also linked to the idea that Gilman was the one who bound him to the dimension of the doomed. Alternatively, it could imply that although Goroth was born within the star, he subsequently transported this essence to his new domain after seizing control. This star could be considered his source of power, or how mortals see or perceive him.
They know Earth. For centuries, the smelter says, they have been weaponsmiths and warriors. 100 times throughout history, they have guttered and risen again, like an eternal flame. Some remain there, he tells me, even now. I pray to a god I don't really believe in that he lies. He offers me a chance to join, to enhance my own glory and his. For those who bring new followers share in their deeds and their achievements, and of course Goroth's. But whether I join or die, I will be part of someone's glory. Not much of a choice. Can barely think through the pain. Probably final log entry. They've stripped Providence bare of working equipment. Wish I knew what they were doing with it. Wouldn't join them. Couldn't. But they're still making me fight. More glory for them than just throwing me into the fire. Hand mangled in the last battle. Legs scorched. They'll be replaced soon. They're mad. All of them. Some unholy mixture of savage horde and pyramid scheme. And all they want to do is destroy. Well, if I'm to die, they'll have to earn it. They'll remember my name. That's glory,
Alright, let's look at all the information we got. Initially, it might seem plausible that the bodies discovered in the chasm were Strogg, given the close alignment with their typical appearance. Even the description of Commander Kaneko's people having been transformed could fit the description of humans having been Stroggified. However, this resemblance could be coincidental or indicative of a derivative design rather than a direct connection. A critical piece of evidence arises from the Death Knight's necrosis skin description.
Death Knight remembers times like this, where he was melded with mechanical parts. His creators thought they'd made a weapon they could control. He destroyed them for their arrogance.
Further insight is provided by an insignia found on one of the Death Knight's armor attachments.
The emblem of the battalion stationed in the Dimension of the Doomed. These soldiers were abandoned for centuries with the death of their leader and were forced to alter their bodies to survive.
The interpretation of the term battalion presents complexities. One possibility is that it refers to the soldiers from the Slipgate complex that Colonel Rice dispatched during the events of Quake 1. Following Rice's transformation into Goroth, the residual forces were trapped in the Dreamland. Under Goroth's rule, they had the grim choice of either pledging allegiance or facing obliteration, leading them to adapt by transforming their bodies. Alternatively, the battalion might denote the collective forces stranded in the Dimension of the Doomed after the defeats of their leader, Shub-Niggurath's Dark Young. The emblem can be seen on a few stained glass windows, inferring the emblem was used way before Commander Rice's ascension. As there was no higher forces to command them, Goroth assumed full control of the remaining forces, ranging from grunts to perhaps even ogres, knights, and fiends, which were compelled to venerate him or be cleansed by the Vadriga. It's amazing how this whole lore added to Quake Champions creates so many possible story elements. Being that closely tied to Lovecraft's worlds, it can really introduce a large number of possible events, creatures, and entities to the world of Quake. The more I read and learn about the Vadrigar's story, the more I would love to see more of these entities. If Quake 6 is ever created, I would love to see the Strogg reintroduced and transported into the Dreamlands. A large-scale conflict scenario would also be thrilling to witness. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you wish to see happen in future Quake games. Thank you so much for watching.